Cush Sovereignty 2, Black Love Chapter 1, Mammalean. There is a lake that sits in the northwest corner of a town known to many as Telul, in the state of Louisiana. This lake, which has no name, is fed by many small streams filled with catfish, bass, perch, bream, and crayfish, that many refer to as crawdads. In the southwestern corner of this lake lies 19 acres of land, and the land itself was filled with wildlife, where the locals referred to as good eating. This land also yielded various herbs and spices that grew wild. The scent surrounding this area was unique and relaxing. However, this lake, this land in this town, had been in this family for centuries and was marked off by a fence with signs that read, "No trespassing." They put these signs up for strangers, for the people in this community knew better. Weeping willows, wrapped over the lake like an umbrella. A variety of pine, magnolia, and sycamore trees covered the land. A few hammocks were strategically placed, where one would just lie down and sleep away their problems, for the smell of lemon balm, thyme, and lavender, which were planted for aromatherapy. This lake, this land, and this lady who owned the land stood 5'2", was as healthy as a bull and had the strength of one. One might say she was the town psychologist, counselor, herbalist, and healer. She was married for 50 years to her late husband, Joseph, whom many called Pape Joe. Their marriage was a blissful union, and all saw it as a valid symbol of what love and marriage looks like. They bore 17 children, all of whom were intelligent and wise. She had the courage of 10 men and the wisdom unknown to anyone nearby. She lived alone now, but was never lonely. People would come from miles to listen to her knowledge, and she had the humor many enjoyed. Before his untimely death, just like his wife, Pape Joe enjoyed helping people. He took to abandoned buildings on their property and renovated them to do just that. Pape Joe built their home in front of two abandoned buildings. These abandoned buildings were once a school centuries ago, right elementary, where he made half of it into a community center and the other half a vegetable and herb garden for his wife, and Ruben M. Calig School stood to the left side of their home. The school had two large doors, which were placed on the south side of the building, where he kept refrigerated equipment for the meats. Solar panels were mounted on the roofs of all the buildings. The whole second floor was a processing facility for butchering and curing the meats. On the north side of the building were plenty of cows, goats, and one enormous fish tank, one could only imagine, and located around the building were plenty of fowls, turkeys, ducks, and chickens. Wright Elementary also had a few fowls here and there, but it was mostly used for herbs, fruits, and vegetables. There were also infused oils, essential oils, and homemade soap. They also added a second story for homeless people who helped around the place. The couple enjoyed teaching and educating the orphans and special needs individuals who lived within the area until Pape Joe's death. Shortly after, their children left home to start a family of their own. This same lady started feeding and making hemp clothing for many of the needy people in the area. Many of those whom she helped would come and help her with these facilities, as a sign of appreciation for the unwavering generosity she had shown to them. She always had more help than needed, but never rejected their support. This lake, this land, and this property belonged to Cacaoya, which means my eldest, little sister, but everyone called her Mammalean. Being a descendant of Whitbeer, she too could trace her lineage as far back as the birth of Adam, the first man, and she was proud of that. She spoke 8 different languages, including sign language. Mammalean was a spiritual woman who talked to Sabbaths regularly and was often visited by Mlesi, Yael, and Mseka. She had a gift that allowed her to be emotionally linked to individuals. They knew it and loved her for her compassion. She would help people whether she knew you or not. Just the thought of someone being in distress before that thought was even processed. Many say Mammalean would be there knocking on your door with food, clothing, or whatever was needed, and then some. One thing about Mammalean, she didn't play when it came to people trying to take advantage of her and theirs. If you didn't know her, it would have been the only way anyone would dare try it. She was not afraid of death, and knew martial art just as well as any man. She was a hilarious woman and a woman who loved love. One homeless man living in her establishment was an old man named Bali from Delhi, Louisiana. He had been there for a few years after his wife died. It was said that they found him wandering the woods in disbelief, confusion, and depression. Mammalean went looking for him one day and found him in a lake fully clothed, laughing and shouting at the fish. Bali? Bali! Shouted Mammalean. Cacaoya? Is that you? Bali replied. No, you old fart. I'm a black bear coming to eat your ass. Now, tell me, what you doing in this pond acting like a fool, for? Climbing out of the pond as Mammalean reached out her hand to help him. If you don't get your ass out this water. Bali, crying, looked up at Mammalean. My wife used to come here and fish, every so often. Mammalean looked at Bali. Baby, your wife has been gone damn near a year now. Bali cried out loudly, how long will he feel this pain? Mammalean smiled, always. As long as you love her, that pain will never go away. Now, you got to snap out it, and gone on back home. Bali shook his head. No, Cacaoya, he could never go back there. You can have that house, and do as you please with it. The kids are gone, and it's just me now. Mammalean felt his pain. Well, he just finished making some extra rooms, outright elementary. You can't stay there until you are ready. You can't stay here in the woods like you're a John the Baptist. Come on here, cause you smell like two skunks during mating season. Bali immediately moved into right elementary, taking only the clothes on his back and helping Mammalean around the place. He was a very hard worker, and soon he knew everything that had to be done, like clockwork, and has worked there ever since. He took charge of the place whenever Mammalean had to travel. Bali? Bali, shouted Mammalean. Yes, ma'am, said Bali. Man, what he done told you about you calling me mean? We're the same age, and you got me feeling like I'm much older than you, even though you look twice my age. Now, how many times have he asked you to call me Mammalean or Cacaoya? Bali said. Yes. Bali caught himself. Yes, Cacaoya. You needed something. Mammalean said, have someone go fetch my grandson, Cush, and tell his mother he need him for a few days. We get go to Lake Providence. Together. Bali said, yes, ma'am. She looked at Bali. If you kept yes, ma'am in me. Me and you can fight with your ugly ass. Bali smiled. Well, what all do you need for your trip? Yeah, you get some of the help to pack up a wagon for ya. Mammalean said. Yeah, lamb. Okay, you don't need some stuff. Wake up, you're always a step ahead of me, old man. I need. Scratching your head, hey, give me about 6 dozen eggs, a case of chicken, 2 cases of fish, and half a cow, butchered up nice and pretty like. Bring me a vegetable case filled with okra, tomatoes, onions, and things like that there. She shook her head and said to herself, ooh, that's all to it. Bali walked off and told a few men what she needed, and they rushed off. By this time, Cush was 14, and at less than a month before he turned 15. He was a brave, as well as a handsome young man. His locks were on his shoulders. He had read the Torah over 40 times, and he would often visit his grandmother. During this time, a minor conflict was brewing up between the Bacatilians and the Anacatas over the Mississippi Bridge. The Anacatas were trying to charge a very toy to cross it. Samuel had gathered up 5,000 Bacatilians and had been gone for months, occasionally returning for a day or two. Cush was walking up to Mammalean's house. Hey, you. What you walking for? Did he not say to make haste? I'm trying to get to Lake Providence before Christmas, and it's my if you don't cheer your ass up. You got everybody waiting on your ass. Mammalean shouted. Cush started running. Yes, ma'am. Looking at Bali while pointing at Cush, you see, he can call me ma'am. Your old ass can't. Bali smiled. Yes, ma'am. Mammalean laughed and quickly frowned. I help. Ima not your ass. Out one of this day, kept playing with me, just kept playing with me. By that time, Cush had jumped on the wagon and she shouted to the 6 horses pulling your wagon, get up. What's the matter, baby? Cush looked up at her. Ain't nothing wrong, Mammalean. She stared at him. Do you know who you're talking to? Cush smiled because Mammalean had that kicked. At times, no one enjoyed being around her because she felt their emotions as her own, and she knew when you were lying. So, if you didn't want her to know something, you simply just didn't go around her. However, Even that wouldn't work. She would come looking for you and tell you how she felt your presence, whether it was happy or sad. She knew it. Yes, Mammalean, Cush said. A pause. There is this girl. She interrupted him. He knew it, he knew it. Embarrassed, he said, no, Mammalean. She had to move to Lake Providence, cause her father gone during this Mississippi Bridge conflict, and her mother had to take care of her mother, cause her grandfather gone as well. Mammalean said, son, love is strange, yet a powerful thing. One of our ancestors was so much in love that he waited for nearly 35 years to marry the love of his life, at the ripe old age of 55. They had their only child, Justin. Mammalean's soul was still embarrassed, and left it at that. 30 minutes had passed, and they were heading north to the bend on Highway 65. Mammalean and Cush had a trivia game they played when they were together from time to time, and she loved how well played her favorite game. Who was Joseph Chadoye? Mammalean asks, Cush said. The Caribbean leader of the First and Second Carib War. Mammalean shook her head, and made a funny look. What years? Cush shook his head. 1769-1796. Mammalean said, round. 1797. Cush said, by 1 year. Mammalean said, almost don't count. Cush said, okay, Tupac Shakur. Mammalean quickly said, born, Les Amharic Crooks, on June 16, 1971, died September 13, 1996, also known by his stage names Doce and Machiavelli. He had several family members of the Black Panthers, Mutulu Shakur, his stepfather, Assata Shakur, his spouse. Billy Garland was his biological father, and Afeni Shakur was his mother, born Alice Faye Williams, January 10, 1947 till 2 de mayo de 2016. She was also an American activist. Cush smiled. Goodness gracious. That's not even the question, Mammalean. You just took off. The question is, what album was Doce of America's Most Wanted on? Mammalean said, All Eyes on Me, 1996. Then she said while she was shaking as if she was singing and dancing, Ain't nothing but a gangster party. They both started laughing. They played the game for a while, and then Cush thought about his grandfather. This thing they are doing in Mississippi is getting worse. I think they are trying to start a war or something. Mammalean turned and said to Cush, Samuel is alright. Is him and your father laughing and joking around with some of his friends? They are guarding the west side of the bridge now. It's going to be alright. Savas got him covered, and besides, it's not his turn, not time soon, anyways. Samuel is a mighty man around you and, when it comes to fighting, he can hold his own. Everyone within Samuel is rich is enlightened. Hell, he'll tell it you got skills too. But that Samuel doings, is teaching you everything he knows because you have to join the military for 2 years. That's mandatory for everyone. It always a must Cush at Mammalean's hip as he turned to her, thanks, Mammalean. Pops and Daddy have been teaching me ever since he can remember, he just missed them. Shaking her head, no problem baby. War is how me and my family came here, Mammalean explained. We were sent here because of a Wuxigun. Cush interrupted, a Wuxigun. Daddy never finished his story. Mammalean looked at Cush, where did it stop? Cush looked up as he thought to himself, and had a look of confusion. Well, they were getting to Tucson and, hold on, Mammalean. A Wuxigun wasn't born yet. I don't think it was even a child when all this happened. Mammalean interrupted, nah, child, I don't really know many of the details about how they got there. I know about when they got there. You see, I love stories of love, and those are the ones I remember the best. Cush got excited. Tell me one of your stories. Mammalean shook her head, but it was more of a sigh of release. Well, it's a long story, and I tell you when we get back so I can relax and explain everything, but I can tell you a short love story, Daddy was. Fine tell you when we were back there, but you got all embarrassed about your little girlfriend. Cush began blushing as she continued. This is a story of how our bloodline almost didn't make it. It's because of that word hate, love, me and you are here today. Mammalean gave Cush the reins. I got to put something on my stomach first. Here, you take this for a minute while I fix something. You's hungry. Cush replied, yes ma'am. She grabs a loaf of homemade Johnny with bread, some tuna, celery, and added some mayonnaise. Looks like someone didn't bat this mayo up. Bali, that man is a damn slave, can't clean up nothing, and act like can't put up nothing neither. What is a few steps to put this in the ice box? If this mayo don't gone bad. Mammalean looked at the heart careful, but it still looks good, I think. Adding a small amount of mustard and she whips them up some sandwiches. Let Mammalean tell you of a beautiful love story. Everyone knew Mammalean loved to tell stories of love and determination. It was part of her gift, and she enjoyed it. She placed the condiments in some ice and handed Cush a tuna fish sandwich sign, this is base of a true story. It actually happened. Rubbing her hands with her fingers. Where do I start? Well, about 100 years ago, or so I guess, back in 1992, when Wanyenyekevu, our ancestor, most people knew him as Desinga, when his firstborn son was born, named Justin. You see, our descendant, in which our bloodline flows, at the same name as his brother after he died at age 26 of sickle cell anemia, back in a time when marriage was a complicated thing for people of color. Slavery had ended about 120 years or so. Jim Crow laws were still in effect, but hidden. Women were given education, and men, well, not so much. There was a great division, but this was a well-thought-out plan by the majority, and they started separating wives without wives knowing it. The women became the breadwinners and men were again, they were being rejected for not being the providers of the household. A well-thought-out plan, if I must say so, myself. Our men were being effeminized and incarcerated with lengthy sentences, while our women became masculine and were allowed to advance globally. The government created a wedge between the two. Son, back then, no one saw anything coming regarding the mind games and manipulation they did to our people until it was too late. They called the few who saw it, and spoke up while it was happening, conspiracy theorists. Mammalean stopped the wagon. Whoa, she said as the horse came to a complete stop. Looking at Cush, in any other country in this world, people can go back centuries in their genealogy, and you couldn't shame them for having blonde hair and blue eyes, but they used stuff like that to shame boys. You see, in these other countries, their genealogy was written in legal books by their families and government, their birth, children, and marriages. You might have had a relative or two who were no good, but you still had a sense of pride about your family. Oh, but not here. They shame us for everything, for having dark skin, woolly hair, or being ashy. But they stole our culture, and made it theirs. Hit up. Mammalean shouted to the horses as she continued, but as he was saying before. The Singa lived during this time frame. They had 2 girls and 2 boys, and both boys were named Justin. One boy, by a woman who despised him, that's the one that died, and by another one, his long-lost love, Rick. However, I will get to that soon. Now, our ancestor wasn't a bad guy. He had moved to Atlanta, Georgia, after serving in the military to pursue a career as a songwriter. Joe was a great poet as well. In those days, they paid you good money to write songs. She smiled, created poetry in motion. During that time, we had presidents, nationwide military units, and you had to pay rent and mortgages. Cush had a funny look on his face. Mammalean smiled. He explained that too later, but we had an entirely different world back then. Anyway, I experienced significant difficulties in life, as a matter of fact, because we do have something. Why on earth did the Singa move there? One may ask. Cush said, I didn't ask you that, Mammalean. Mammalean looked at Cush, boy hush, and let me tell you my story. Why on earth did the Singa move there? One may ask. Mammalean looked over at Cush, smiled as she continued, Saba's destined. Before joining the military, he lived in Shreveport, Louisiana, because his mother worked as a civilian for the armed services. After he left the military, he returned, but nothing had changed with racism, and the likes of it. He was a part of a spiritual community dedicated to Sabbath led by the great prophetess Aquel Amalek. Cush smiled, oh, he heard of her. Mammalean gave Cush a look again and the smile again, he missed, and loved this small community with Amalek when he returned, but things had gotten worse since he left. Many of the people in the community would listen to his many adventures in the army, and after a while they also was fed up with the injustices against our people and they wanted to see a world outside of Louisiana.